Thanks for taking the time today to answer a few questions. I was wondering if you wouldn't mind just, telling folks for you what's been most helpful about services here at New Directions.
All right. Being here at New Directions, I think the most important and most helpful thing for me was always having someone there to talk to when I needed them. It doesn't matter if it's 3 in the morning on a Sunday night. There's someone I can always reach out to who will be able to lend an ear, give some good advice if I'm having trouble. You know, in the middle of the night, I wind up with thought grenades, as I call them, where I get stuck so deep in my own mind that I can't sleep, I can't get out of any sort of hole that I dig myself into. And a lot of the time, I always have someone to talk to, whether it's the RA, whether it's my therapist. It doesn't matter who I call. They're always going to be there to help me out. And I think that's one of the most important aspects about New Directions.
I know some students have a hard time really getting out. They tend to isolate sometimes.
Mm.
Some of them are like video gamers. Like, can you speak a little bit about how maybe New Directions tries to help those types of individuals?
Yeah. My experience with that, obviously I like to get out and about. I'm very sociable. I try to do everything that I can that's not in the house. But there are some students who I've seen who, have a harder time wanting to get out of the house. They're a little less motivated on getting out and being social. And my observation with that is that, even sometimes if they're not really feeling up for it, staff will try to come in and motivate them to come on out and have a good time. Because I know for a fact that isolating in the house can be an unhealthy thing. And so it's a big priority that, we get the students out and social. And so I've seen that the staff are always able to positively motivate these students to come out of the house, out of their, shelter, and experience a little bit of different social situations, but always for the better.
Have there been times you think that people literally like barricade themselves in and don't want to leave? And
yes,
what happens in those
situations? In those situations, it's almost as if they're like, you don't have a choice. you're coming, you're going to have a great time, and you're going to thank me later, but you don't have a choice. And that's usually how it winds up, is, staff will come in and say, all right, computer away, let's go. I don't want to go. But they wind up having a great time, because a lot of the activities that we do here are really very positive and very fun. Right. It's not fake or silly. It's legitimately fun and a good time.
Would you say people have an easy time or a hard time making friends when they come here?
It seems like it's pretty easy. For me, like I was saying earlier, I'm a very social person, so I'm very outgoing. I can meet people anywhere. But the awesome thing about New Directions is that there's always someone who you'll connect to, if not multiple people, because there's so much diversity within the student population that it's hard. You'd have to try not to make friends. You'd have to purposely come here with the intent of, I don't want to meet anyone, to not make friends. And even then, people will still be reaching out, still be trying to be friendly towards you. It doesn't matter who they are, or what kind of interests they have. There's always going to be, there's 3 or 4 people who are there like, hey, what's up? How you doing? It's hard not to have friends here, like legitimate friends.
Cool. I wanted to ask you too a little bit about, switch gears a little bit, ask
Sure.
you about finding jobs while you're here, getting support and finding jobs, and maybe a little bit about if you feel comfortable about what your experience has been.
Sure, absolutely. The vocational, part of New Directions has been super. I can't even emphasize that enough. I've had 2 jobs since I've been here, even though my work history isn't the best. They've been able to help coach me in interviewing and finding jobs and how to retain them. It's been such a great process working with our vocational, assistant here in, finding a job that works for me, finding something that I'll enjoy doing, that I won't want to quit, given my history. And so it's very, very guided, but very effective. In my experience, I barely even have to try anymore, because I've gotten the routine so down pat that it's a simple process. I can go into an interview feeling confident, feeling as if I know what I'm doing. And that hasn't always been the case.
Got it. Thanks. Anything else you could think of that might be helpful for parents or other students that are considering coming to New Directions? Anything else you could think of that might be helpful for them to know?
Just, kind of going back and touching on a bit of this and that I've spoken about, as well as expanding. there's so much positivity going on here. You know, even if it doesn't seem so from my own perspective sometimes, you know, I do have hard times, but there's always someone there to make it better. And, you know, whether or not you come in here for work-related, you know, struggles, for personal, mental health, for school-related, you know, difficulties, anything under the sun, really, there is something that they'll be able to help you out with and really do a good job with. There's nothing that I've seen, you know, happen here that can't be addressed and really assisted and helped out through the proper process.
I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about what the living situation for students typically is here and what some of the choices are or some of the options that students choose.
Okay. Personally, I started out in the house. There are two different houses, one boys' house, one girls' house. It's, you know, you get 4 or 5 people in there. It's a very social environment. It really helps out if you're feeling worried about, you know, not getting out, not meeting people. It's a great place to start. But there's always the option, no matter how long you've been here, how short you've been here, to move into a great apartment complex called The Preserve. It's right next door to the houses. It's right next door to the office. Super convenient, and it's quite nice. And a lot of the students have an option to either live there with a roommate, or there are even, you know, independent houses or apartments in there where you can live alone if you so desire. And the apartments are really nice, great amenities. They've got a pool, hot tub, a gym, you know. So even if you don't have a gym membership through the program, you can work out there. It's really, there's a lot of great options going on with the housing, you know, both that help guide with social and, you know, life effectiveness.
All right, thanks. Really appreciate it. Thanks very much.
Absolutely.